Hey guys, welcome to another video. So in this video we are going to build a custom select box using React JS. As you can see, I have a box in here. So if I click this box, a drop down will be appeared down here. And in here, as you can see, we have printed the name of the countries. So using this search bar, I can search for my country name. If I write here United, you can see the countries that start with letter U will be printed here. And if I search for other countries that start with letter Z, you can see the countries will be printed here. Now if I click one of these countries, the name will be printed over here. Okay. If I click this box again, it will be disappeared. So in this project, you will learn how to use a use state hook, how to use use effect hook, how to map through data, and how to filter data inside React JS. So now let's get started. Okay guys, I am inside my VS Code. As you can see, I have already generated my React app using Vite. So in here I have a new folder and I have stored all the data related to the country's name. I have stored them inside an array. Now let's get started. So at first we are going to have a new file here. I'm going to call that countries.jsx. Okay, now let's import this file inside our app.js. Now inside this component, just get rid of this text here, and instead we are going to print our countries component. Okay, now open the terminal, and in here just write npm run div. As you can see, our country text is printed in here. Alright. Now at first we are going to have a container, so the class name is going to be container. Okay, and actually this div is going to be a section. Now inside here, at first we need to have a main div. Okay, now inside this main we need to have a title. I'm going to have a heading 1 with the class of title, and the title is going to be select country. Okay, and also we need to have an icon here. So the icon is coming from React icons. Just open the terminal. Okay, and in here just write npm install react icons. So using this command you can install the React icons. I have already installed that, so I just open the React icons in here. Inside here I'm gonna look for arrow. I'm going to use this arrow here. I'm gonna copy this, and now inside here we need to write import. We are going to import that from React icons, and following that just write the first two characters, which are MD. Make sure to write them in lowercase. Okay, now inside this heading 1 we need to have a span tag. Okay, and just write our icon in here. As you can see, I have a text along with the icon. Now let's style our title here. So inside here I'm going to have a new file and call that country.css. Okay, now let's import that. Okay, I'm going to split that to the right so I can see my classes in here. So at first I'm going to target this container. We need to give this a width of 32 rem. And to bring this in the middle, we need to write margin for rem and auto. So for rem is going to be from top and bottom, and auto is going to be left and right. Now let's check. Now you can see our text is in the middle. So down here we need to target our title class. Background color is going to be white. Font size is going to be 1 rem. Okay, now we need to separate them from each other. So we are gonna add display flex, align items center, and justify content space between. Okay, now they are separated. We need to add a little padding here. So padding is going to be 1 rem, cursor pointer. Now let's check it. You can see we have a padding here which is looking good now. And also we need to add a border radius to this. So I'm gonna write here border radius 5 pixel. Okay, now it's looking good, but we need to increase the font size of this icon. I'm gonna increase that inside this JS. So I'm gonna write here style. Font size is going to be 1.6 rem. And also I wanna disable the pointer event of this icon to be none. Alright. Now you can see we have bigger icon here. Alright, now let's display our country data. So down here, down this title, we need to have our main data here. So at first we are gonna have a div with the class of country data. Okay, and inside here at first we need to add our search bar. So search bar part. So our search bar will have an input and an icon. So we are gonna store them inside a div with the class of search. Okay, we are going to have an icon first. So I'm gonna look for search icon again in here. I'm gonna choose this icon. Okay, now let's import that. Alright, now inside this span I'm gonna paste this icon. Following that we need to have an input. So the input placeholder is going to be, now let's check it. As you can see we have our input here with the icon. Now down here we need to map through our data, which I have already stored them inside this data.js. So our map is going to have a parent div which is called country. Now inside this country we need to map through our data. So at first we need to have curly braces here, and as you can see the name of our data is countries. So I'm gonna copy that from here and paste it here. Now let's import that. So we are gonna map through this country data. We are going to get this single country and also this index. Okay, now we are going to print a single country here. So I'm gonna write here span and just print this country because we have used this map. So we need to have a key here. The key is going to be indexed. Okay, now let's check. You can see all the countries have been printed here, but we need to style them. I'm gonna open the CSS file again. At first we need to target this country data. Background color is going to be white. Margin top 1 rem. Maximum height is going to be 20 rem. Okay, overflow Y auto. Now you can see we have a bar in here. Alright, we need to add a border radius to that again, 5 pixel. Okay, now let's style our search bar here. As you can see we have an icon and an input in here. So down here we need to target at first this country data and search. Okay, so I'm gonna write display flex, align items center. Margin is going to be 1 rem. Okay, padding is going to be 0.5 frame, and finally we need to have a box shadow. Okay, now let's check. As you can see, we have this border in here, but we need to get rid of this input border. So I'm gonna target this search here, input. Okay, now we need to get rid of the border. Border is going to be none, and as you can see, if I click this, it has an outline. So we are gonna write here outline none. Okay, and also we need to add a little padding to this. Padding is gonna be 0.3 rem, and the width is going to be 100%. Okay, now you can see our search bar is ready. Alright, now let's work on our country's name. So down here we need to target this country here. We need to add display flex, and flex direction is going to be column. Now you can see they are on top of each other. Alright, now let's style the single name. So they are stored inside a span tag. So I'm gonna write here country span. Margin is going to be 0 for top, 0.5 frame for right, 0 for button, and also 0.5 frame for left. Okay, padding is going to be 0.6 frame, 0.5 frame. Okay, we need to have a cursor pointer. Font width is going to be 600, and finally we need to have a border radius of 5 pixels. Okay, we need to make this padding. Now let's check it. Alright, now they have a little spaces between them. Now we need to add a hover effect to this. So I'm gonna target this span tag again and add this hover. Now the background color is going to be this color code. Alright, now let's check. You can see we have a beautiful hover effect in here. Okay, we have a problem in here because this size should be the same as this title. So now let's figure it out. So the problem is we need to add only margin top in here. So it's gonna be top 1.5 frame. Now let's check. You can see the problem is fixed here. Alright guys, our UI is ready. Now let's move to the JavaScript part. So first of all, we are going to display the countries that start with letter A, and for the rest we will display them by searching. Okay, so now let's display them. I'm gonna close the CSS here. So in here we need to have a use state hook. So I'm gonna call that filter data, and the initial value is going to be this empty array. So now we are going to loop through this country's data and store only the countries that start with letter A. Now down here we need to define a use effect hook, and inside here we need to write set filter, and inside this set filter we need to filter these countries. So countries dot filter, we need to get single country in here and return the country that starts with. Now we need to make sure our country's name are all in lowercase. So we are gonna write here to lowercase. Now let's check them inside this console. So I'm gonna write here console log filter data. Now as you can see, we have the countries that has a letter A at the beginning. Alright, now let's display them inside here instead of all the data. So before that we need to have a use state hook for our search bar. So I'm gonna write here. Now we need to have a value and unchange on our input here. So in here I'm gonna write value is going to be search and unchanged is going to be okay. Now down here we need to set a condition. We need to say if there is something inside our search bar, we want to display the whole countries, otherwise we want to display only the filtered country. So in here we need to say if there is nothing inside our search bar, it means if we didn't write anything inside our search bar, we want to display our filtered data, otherwise we are going to display our countries data in here. Okay, make sure to wrap them with these parentheses. Now inside here we need to map through our filtered data, so I'm going to write here filtered data.map. We are going to get our country. Okay, again we need to have a span tag here and just print this country here. So we need to have a key again. I'm going to write key is going to be again our index. Okay, now let's check it here. As you can see, because we do not have any text inside our input, it displays only the countries that has letter A at the beginning, but as soon as I write something here, you can see it will display the whole data. Okay, now let's filter this whole data using this search bar. So inside here, inside this span tag, make sure to add that inside this whole countries, not inside this filtered data. We need to have a class name here. So inside this class name we need to set a condition. We need to say if country, this single country, dot to lowercase dot starts with search. We want to add a block class here, otherwise we want to add a hidden class. So inside here we check if the first letter of the text that we have written inside our search bar matches with our country name, we want to add this block class, otherwise we want to add this hidden class. Now let's see how it works. So in here we need to open our CSS again, and we need to have two classes here. So down here, at first we need to have a class of block here. So the block is going to be only display block, and the hidden is going to be display, and it's going to be none, not hidden. Okay, now let's check it. If I write here United, you can see the country that starts with letter U will be printed here. If I, let's say, write here Z, you can see only countries that start with letter Z will be displayed here. Now let's print this name inside this title. So again I'm gonna open this countries component, and in here we need to have another use state hook. I'm gonna call that title. The initial value is gonna be this empty string. Now inside here we need to again set a condition. So I'm gonna wrap this with curly braces. We are going to say if there is a title, we wanna display the title. If not, we wanna display this text. So you can see currently this title is empty. It's displaying this text. But if I write here something like Afghanistan, you can see this text will be changed immediately with Afghanistan. Now how we can change this text by clicking this country's name. So I'm gonna delete this here, and inside here, inside this filter data, make sure to add this inside this span. You need to add an on click here. Okay, and this set title is going to be our country name. Now let's add this inside this span tag as well. Okay, now let's check. So if I click this here, you can see our text will be displayed here. If I click other country name, it will be changed with another name. Now if I look for another country that starts with letter Z, okay, you can see our on click is working perfectly. Alright guys, now let's hide our data. So inside this class name we need to set another condition, but before that we need to have a new use state hook here. It's going to be drop and set drop. Okay, and the initial value is going to be false. Alright, now let's add a condition here. At first we need to copy this class from here and add this curly braces. So inside here I'm gonna paste this class, and following that we are going to set a condition. We are gonna say if drop is true, we wanna add this class here, which is a drop show. Okay, now at first we need to hide that, so I'm gonna open CSS again. As you can see, our country data is in here. So to hide that, at first we need to write transform translate y minus 10 pixel. Opacity is going to be 0. Visibility is going to be hidden. Okay, and we need to add a transition to make it smoothly. Transition all 400 millisecond is and out. Now you can see our data is disappeared. So we need to add this class here, and we need to bring these data back to the normal. So I'm gonna copy them from here, and translate is going to be 0. Opacity is gonna be 1, and finally visibility is going to be visible. Now we need to set an on click to this title, so to make it happen, so inside this heading 1 we need to write an on click, and again we need to get the set drop here, and inside here we need to get the previews of this drop and just add this not previews. So this exclamation mark will add a toggle functionality. Okay, now let's check. If I click this one, you can see our data will be visible. If I click it back, you can see the data will be gone. Okay, now let's style this arrow. So when I open this data, I want this arrow to rotate 180 degrees. So again, inside this we need to add another condition. So class, so if drop is true, we want to add this rotate class, otherwise we want to add normal class. Okay, now we need to add our style inside these classes. So down here I'm gonna write at first for rotate, transform rotate and 180 degree. Okay, and here I'm gonna write transition all 400 millisecond is and in out. Okay, now for this normal class, this rotate is going to be 0 and our transition will remain the same. Now if I click this, you can see our rotate is working perfectly, but I want it to rotate to the left side. So in here I'm gonna write minus 180 degree. Okay, now you can see our arrow rotation is working perfectly. Alright guys, that's it for today's project. I hope it was helpful for you. So make sure to like the video and give a subscribe to my channel. See you in the next video.